The BBC understands that the former CEO of fashion giant Abercrombie and Fitch, Mike Jeffries, and his British partner Matthew Smith are facing criminal charges of sex trafficking. They have previously denied allegations of wrongdoing. The FBI opened an investigation last year after the BBC revealed claims that Mike Jeffries and his partner sexually exploited and abused men at events that they hosted in their New York residences and hotels around the world.
I keep telling y'all, the feds never miss. Every last one of these CEOs that was doing wicked things, they're about to go down. Now they just locked up Abercrombie and Fitch former CEO and his crew because of sex trafficking ring. That's wild. It's gonna get worse than that. It's election time and they trying to make examples out of every single body. And on top of that, these people are taking advantage of people and people are tired. So allegedly what they're saying is that these dudes was luring guys in, the guys that was trying to be models, the guys that was trying to get in the industry, having parties and making them do crazy shit at parties. Come on. They had an Abercrombie run organization, organization. It gets sicker. All you got to do is go down that rabbit hole. But guess what? These are not the only ones that they're going to get at. They're going to get at more than this. You better believe all these CEOs are scared because guess what? They've been doing people dirty for too long. That's why I always say that industry that everybody try and get in is wicked. They're wicked, man. And since they know that you're trying to get in this industry, they will do anything and everything to make you do anything and everything to get in this industry. And honestly, it's crazy because you got some of our kids that want to chase fame. You got people that just want to chase fame, that want to live out their dreams because they think that life on that side is better. And you get more money, of course, you would think that. But guess what? You don't know what you got to go through. And look what these people are doing. But these are not the only one. Like I said, when the feds is on your ass, you can't run from the feds. Pay attention.
The former boss of global fashion retailer Abercrombie and Fitch has been charged, along with his partner and a third man, with running a prostitution and international sex trafficking ring. Federal US prosecutors have accused Michael Jeffries of promising modelling careers to young men in order to exploit and sexually abuse them.
To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Prosecutors said the alleged operation involved dozens of men.
Can somebody explain to me how Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, had sex trafficking charges? 14 sex trafficking charges. And they let him out on $10 million bail. But Sean P. Diddy Combs is still in jail. Mind you, this man was willing to put up his home, give up his passports, his family's passports, and way more money than $10 million. Same kind of charges, similar situation. Why is it that Mike Jeffries is home? Now, I'm not saying Diddy should be a free man, but what I'm saying is, how is that possible? Because I know for a fact, sex trafficking is sex trafficking. Or maybe it was the baby oil. Now, the truth of the matter is, in these type of situations, you are innocent until proven guilty. But in this case, it seems like because Diddy is who he is, he's immediately guilty. And because Mike is who he is, he could have bail and roam free. I know y'all see what I'm talking about, right?
Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch has been arrested on federal charges related to sex trafficking. Mike Jeffries was the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch from 1992 to 2014, but he has faced a lot of controversy, most recently as he was the focus of a documentary about the company called The Abercrombie Guys: The Dark Side of Cool, which covered the many lawsuits alleging discriminatory hiring practices filed against the company under Jeffries' leadership. Now, several sources are saying that he has been arrested on charges related to sex, but the charges have not officially been announced yet. Also being charged is Jeffrey's partner, Matthew Smith, as an alleged middleman. A 2023 BBC investigation alleged that Jeffries and Smith were part of a, quote, highly organized network that involved a middleman who found young men to participate in sex events. The BBC reported that 8 men who said they attended these alleged events claimed they were exploited or abused. Attorneys for Jeffries and Smith have previously denied any wrongdoing, but now they have both been arrested on charges related to trafficking. So more will certainly be coming out, but there was definitely something going on, and they definitely uncovered some evidence that led to these arrests.
I was butt-ass naked as I was being asked for my ID and to sign this non-disclosure agreement. There wasn't a lot of time to look through and feel comfortable.
I don't recall what was in that. It was taken away from me immediately after signing it. I didn't really have much time to really even read it. When I started to read it, it was, you don't really need to read this, do you? I remember there being something along the lines of financial repercussions. I feel like they were trying to scare us with some sort of BS legal document. That's what it felt like. It felt like intimidation.
How easy could it have been to have just left?
I really don't know. I've questioned many times how difficult or what I could have done if I could have left. There was 4 older, larger security guys, physically fit guys that kind of exhibited themselves to be professional security people.
The impact of there being chaperones in that room felt like there was even more pressure to perform, to go make sure they had a good.
Make me over.
Abercrombie and Fitch said, we go after the cool kids. If they didn't look a certain way, they didn't belong in our clothing. Are we exclusionary? Absolutely.
As a manager, you have to recruit good-looking people, and this is what good-looking is.
Young, thin, and white.
Abercrombie rooted themselves in discrimination at every single level. There's a reason people liked that brand. Exclusion is part of our society.
They were also firing people on the basis of their looks.
Abercrombie said it wasn't that we were being racially discriminated against, it was that we weren't good looking enough.
The defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave.
Part 2, we're going to be talking about the details that Barrett and the other men described happened to them at the hands of Mike Jeffries and the other men involved. Barrett has his meeting with Jim at a hotel room where he is offered alcohol. Jim tells Barrett that he needs to get his photo taken by Bruce Weber, who is the official photographer for Abercrombie, and if he does, then he's set. Barrett had this meeting in a hotel room late at night, and he said there was no other reason to have this meeting except for one thing, and there was a moment where it was kind of like, all right, let's do this now. Barrett talked about the fact that from the age of 19, he was already being conditioned and groomed that these things were very normal. He was S8 on his first shoot, and his boundaries kept getting pushed. Barrett said at this point he wasn't forced, there wasn't violence, but he was already conditioned and groomed that this was basically the only way. Barrett said that Jim had paid him what he remembers to to be about $500, and Rihanna, who is the reporter, said that the other men also said they believed that Jim was the gatekeeper, and in order to get to Mike Jeffries, they needed approval from Jim. After the meeting, Jim would allegedly send their photos to Mike Jeffries and his partner Matthew Smith, and if they were selected, they would receive a schedule to events hosted by the couple. Barrett did share on the documentary what he received, which shows the date, the time, the place, and it said, Matthew and Mike will go to great lengths to make sure these events are fun for all. Please make the same effort. As you can see, this invite said absolutely nothing about what was going to be happening at the party or what kind of party this really was. After receiving this, he was told that he was going to be flown out to New York and he would be staying at a hotel with the other men who were invited. Barrett said that once they arrived to the hotel, all the men were corralled into a room and met with a groomer who made them strip down so he could fully shave them. Barrett broke down during this moment, saying it was one of the most dehumanizing experiences he had ever had. The groomer had them in specific positions in order to shave every bit of them. I mean, I don't want to go into too many details. You'll have to watch to get that. Of course, they were also told to sign NDAs, but weren't given enough time to actually look through it. When the men arrived to the Hamptons, both Mike Jeffries and Matthew Smith allegedly have them sit down, have conversations with them, talk about them being in the catalog. Barrett talks about the fact that he was taken to the main house and asked to disrobe and taken into a room where things were happening. There were chaperones in that room, there were men performing, and Barrett felt like he had no choice but to go along. David talked about the fact that when he was in this room, Mike had asked him if he liked poppers, and when David said he didn't know what that was, Mike held him by the neck and made him sniff a vial of liquid. David then talks about the fact that things were happening that he did not want to happen, and while he didn't say no or ow or stop, he did say things like, "You're hurting me." After leaving the Hamptons, Barrett said he was paid $2,500, and while he never returned, some of the men did. He also felt like this money was paid to them basically to shut them up and not cause any problems. Apparently, evidence suggested that it was Matthew Smith who was paying the $2,500 through Mike Jeffries' private company. Now, the documentary goes through a lot more details, very disturbing, but they do also talk about the fact that they believe there has to be at least 100 people involved in this trafficking. In order for all of this to go down, you obviously have to have recruiters. And remember in part one where Barrett talked about that big brother he met through modeling who basically pushed him into doing any of this? Those would be the smaller recruiters who find men for Jim, and Jim would pass them along to the couple, Matthew Smith and Mike Jeffries. And to make sure everything runs smoothly, you need other people involved, like the groomer, booking agents, drivers, security, and so on. And of course, when creating the documentary, they did reach out to the attorney for Mike Jeffries, who said that he has never spoken up about his personal life and he's not going to do it now. But whether he wanted to talk to BBC or not, it doesn't make a difference anymore because he has officially been arrested. And who knows if this ever would have happened if it weren't for Barrett and the other men who spoke up, and I truly commend them for their bravery.
Ha 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 ha!